Good afternoon, everybody. Can you understand me in the back? Because the acoustics are a little, yeah? Awesome. So, yep, okay. With this limited amount of time, I will fly into the topic somewhat differently, but with great sympathy to the notion of intentional community and bioplanning that both previous speakers brought to the table. All right, so let's take a step back. Where are we today? I mean, I left the university, as Thomas mentioned, because of a sense of urgency that we need to be able to actually realize and build substantial change now. And as an academic, you're an academic. You talk about it, and you listen to, and you discuss how other people can be doing it. But I really wanted to be doing it also ourselves and build the knowledge to do it in the real world. Where are we today? We're in a situation where we're approaching, you could say, a bankruptcy of planetary systems. And you know how bankruptcy goes? Ernest Hemingway told us, first it goes gradually, and then it goes suddenly. And we're approaching the suddenly moment. So the graph you see here is just, I could show you 100 graphs. This graph happens to be about a sea level rise. A similar graph exists for temperature, for storm intensity, and some of us have seen this very summer. So how do we go bankrupt? Gradually, then suddenly. But, you know, it is important to be fully aware of this state of crisis. It is also important to know that we can be hopeful, that we can find our way out of this if we can start to think about how we rebuild together, and we start that today. So the crisis is upon us. It is possible to find solutions, and I will try to talk with you about a number of elements of how we find these solutions. And together, the notion of collective intelligence is really important. Also, being aware that it will not look like anything we've seen so far. So on this slide, you see at the bottom right a model of an island. This is a project done together with ecologists, engineers, farmers, economists, to build a man-made island in the North Sea that functions as an energy battery. It's a drainable lake. It can collect and hold the energy of solar panels and windmills all around. And it can basically, as a natural structure, also house ocean farming. This is a type of project that we haven't seen yet, that comes out of a collective exercise to provide an energy infrastructure which we haven't seen yet, but which we might need. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Thank you. So the essence in rebuilding is that we adopt a term called cathedral thinking. It means that we do this together. Why? The reset requires a set of solutions that none of us are smart enough to invent individually. So the difficulty is curating, finding a way to structure the conversation with everybody's inputs to be realized to get to a cathedral project. So our generation, your generation, will build a new set of cathedrals. We will need each other. We will also need technology, because we are too many to talk with 1 million people at the same time and listen also. So we will need technology, we will need top-level mathematicians, math, and we need people. Together we can build those cathedrals, which we work on decades. It might take several decades to realize some of these projects. And a lot of them are about legacy. So my friends spoke about new projects. There's a lot of legacy. We have so much existing city that needs to be rewired, needs to be rethought. When you say cathedral thinking, obviously the question is, who gets to be on top? Typically, a cathedral was for a god. For which god are we building? And that's a difficult question to answer. We're building for ourselves. But who are we? And this is where the tricky thing about collective intelligence and cathedral thinking comes in. Who gets to be on top? That's a fundamentally political question. Thank you. So who gets to be on top? We have seen many cases of cathedrals that ended up in totalitarian thinking, in basically dictatorship. This is my biggest concern with the radical solutions we need for a changing climate, that there will be a call for dictatorship to lead us through. We do not need that, though. We can work together and bring different values and ideas. If it is pushed through by one group against everybody else, our adaptation will surely fail. We need to have our friends on board, the friends in our intentional communities, but we even need more than that, our enemies on board. It's with our enemies that we will realize the cathedral. So it is a big call. If you want to save the world, go work together with your enemies, with those who do not think like you. And so in order to understand how tribal we really are, we also have, I have a design company called ORG. We also have a technology company called Solve. And one of the things that Solve does is help understand and map without interference by a moderator what the actual tribal structure is of your values. So how are you present in a project? How is society not one singular idea at the top of the cathedral, but a set of very different values with you and people like you against you? And you guys might feel like you're very different. You vote different, you like different things, you are completely opposite. And there's a third group, and you see there, it is possible to map that. And with that, we can build a cathedral that is a tribute to everybody's values. So if we want to build the cathedrals for a climate change, we will need to get you and your enemies on board with this. And that is the real challenge. But I think it's possible if we listen, if we work together with your enemies, if we use technology in the process. Next one, please. I'm trying to get to the next one. Yeah. So I'll wrap up with a series of projects that are underway or where we attempt to do cathedral thinking. Here you see a zoom-in image of a portion of the Belgian or Flemish coast, which, in some portions with sea level rise, might become very vulnerable. Through a process of about a year and a half, with hundreds, yes, in fact, thousands of people, a solution has been devised and has been agreed upon in various workshops, which engages the construction of a dune landscape where possible, and sort of a nature-based solution that should help us for storms in the next hundreds of years, and also for sea level rise up to several meters. So you see, this is a solution which both increases recreational potential, increases natural values, increases actual protection, guarantees that our well-being is not harmed, but in fact there's a net growth in natural systems. This is a difficult project, and it engages many, many people of very, very different belief systems. Going back into the ocean, energy infrastructures will not always be nature-based. I would want them to be, but they can't always be. So I showed you nature-based solutions so far. But here is an example of a structure that might be necessary in the near future, and how even when it's hard, we can make it ecological. We can basically adjust the concrete systems, adjust the whole barrier architecture for it to be filled with oysters, to be filled with ecosystemic layers that themselves take care of the management and the protective nature of this piece of infrastructure. So I mentioned to you, it's nice to think about new things, but we have so much of our built world already in place, and we will need to rewire that. So legacy infrastructure, think of highways and interstates. If you look at New York City or Antwerp, which is the city we're in today, we have highways that easily carry 150,000 vehicles a day. In some ways, for people that are living close, these have very detrimental health effects. And these go from cancer to dementia to various, well, I cannot mention anything else, but big deal health effects. I'm very proud to have been collaborating on a project for Antwerp, where we're covering large portions of the highway, sinking it, and we can put people above trucks, and you can take that literally. And as a result of which the health statistics and the air quality goes up, acoustic quality goes up, a lot of the legacy and health damage gets taken away or buried. This too is a project that engaged at this point 7,000 people, and really it's nobody's singular idea anymore. It is really a project that has generated, that has come together as a result of dozens, yes, hundreds of scientists and designers and citizens. Next. And it's under construction. So that's a nice thing. So you work on something for 6 years with thousands of people, you actually get to execution. A last project I will go through very rapidly is the notion of ecologically guided industrialization. So we've recently completed the national plan for a country called Malawi in southern Africa. And in this case, this is really a country of extreme poverty, which deserves and needs to add things to the value chain. So that means some form of industrialization, but it's an opportunity to go for ecologically guided industrialization and make the footprint as light as possible and do it as regenerative, with the beautiful word that Thomas was using, as possible. I'm sorry to stand in front of you, Thomas. So I will wrap up with these examples. My point is this: we can do a lot with design and redesigning our legacy infrastructures. We will need so much mathematics, science, algorithms, and inputs in the process in order to do this smartly. And a lot of that technology is available, and the rest we need to build. And we all can contribute our piece to this, but really, at the end, it is also the collective effort, the effort of you reaching out to your enemies and doing it together with them. Before we die from climate change, we'll be dead because we hit each other in the head with a stick. So that is the chance of these cathedral projects. It's an opportunity to reconnect with your enemy and help together save the world. So that's really what I believe we should be going for, and invite you all to become a partner in this, in an architecture of collective intelligence that we work on jointly. Thank you.